Guys, building your credit with credit cards can be a slippery slope. But without a good credit score, how can you buy a car or rent an apartment? With credit card debt at an all-time high, leveraging credit cards to build your credit profile is outdated and just doesn't work for everyone. That's where our friends and show sponsor Extra come in. Extra is a debit card that helps you build credit in much the same way as a credit card would. Extra's debit card connects you with your bank account so that with each purchase you make, you're able to leverage your spend power to build credit and earn points in making transactions without the worry of going into debt. The best part is there are no credit checks to enroll in and no interest rates or hidden fees. I use my Extra card for grocery shopping and going out to eat for my purchases, and simultaneously I build my credit. It's that easy. To sign up for Extra, just click on the link below and start building your credit with a debit card. Yes, a debit card. It's that simple. Oh, I'm in a weird spot, guys. Here's what happened. Dan Hooker, one of my favorite guys for multiple reasons, but I really respect Dan Hooker. It's one thing to like a guy. I respect Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker came out and said that he's going to change weights. He even said, I'm doing a test weight run. And I remember thinking, what do you need to test if you're going up to 170? Go have breakfast and spar, you weirdo. Like, what are you talking about? You're going to do a test run. Guys, I had it wrong. Dan Hooker is not going to 170. Dan Hooker is going down to 145. I do not love this. I don't. When I thought he was going to 170, when I came and spoke to you guys about him going to 170, when we were talking about the possible parity for Dan Hooker at 170, not to mention life in general, which is going to be better. And things are going to be a little bit easier. Beating that scale is a very real opponent, but you don't have 15 to 25 minutes to do it. You have 8 to 11 weeks of agony to defeat the scale. So life is just going to be better for Dan Hooker. I was very happy for him. Now I find out why he did the test run. He did the test run because he's going down to 145. By the way, I found this out when Dan put a piece out on social media and took a picture of 145 with him on the scale and go, oh. Now, it's not because I don't like the parity, guys. It's not because there's not great matches, and it's not because I don't believe in Dan Hooker in the least. This is why I respect Dan Hooker, crap like this. But don't miss the story. The story is not that Dan Hooker's at 145 pounds. The story here is how the hell did he get there? When? I just saw Dan Hooker from my living room. He was in Abu Dhabi on Fight Island. 3 weeks prior to that, I saw Dan Hooker in person at T-Mobile Arena. He is in New Zealand where he's in a pandemic, can't even get appropriate training to the point that his entire team, Volkanovski, Adesanya, Coach Eugene Behrman, Dan Hooker, are talking about leaving and coming to America where some of the rules are different so they can at least get training. And so I'm going to ask you again, when did Dan Hooker have time to get to 145 pounds? He just fought at 150. This just happened. He was in there with Islam. So he leaves Fight Island. He either goes to New Zealand or he goes back to Las Vegas. Either way, he goes to a different damn continent. When did he have time? This is why I like this guy. There are no excuses coming out of Dan Hooker, ever. But this is an absolute battle. Please, you got to trust me on that, guys. When I tell you how hard it is to make weight, oh my goodness. And if you don't have that incentive known as a contract, known as a signed contract that comes with a show bonus, show so you understand means you make weight. If you make weight, you get your show. If you miss weight, they're 10% here, 20% here. You guys have heard about it, but that's an incredible incentive. So Dan, absent of the incredible incentive, still went through the agony. You see why I like the guy. You see why I like the. Does he not take any days off? He has a fight with Islam Makhachev only 4 or 5 weeks after his previous fight at T-Mobile. He doesn't take a break. He doesn't order a couple of pizzas, put his feet up, get a box of donuts like every other fighter in the history of the world. He goes into weight camp for a test run to see if he can get to 145 pounds. He then does it. His only reward is what? What the hell's he get for that except to be hungry? So I don't know if I love it. Because the things that I loved about 170 wasn't just the parity that we get as a fan. I was happy that Dan Hooker's life is going to be a little bit more comfortable. I'm wrong. He did the opposite. He made his life less comfortable and went down to 145. Now what do you want to do with him? I mean, you guys tell me. Give me some ideas. I had him at 170 where I thought he was going. He looks like a big, strapping guy. He's tall as hell, and he's got pretty broad shoulders. It never even crossed my mind that he was going down to 145. So, okay, Dan Hooker's lighter than I thought he was, and he's going to make a weight class that I didn't know he could make. What do you want to do with him? Who do you want to put him with at 145? I mean, here we are. You got a top guy who's only bumping a road is against other top guys at 150. Oh, he lost to Michael Chandler. Who the hell didn't? It's the world champion of two organizations. Oh, he lost to Islam Makhachev. Well, Khabib says he's going to be the champion of this. We're like, who? Nobody can deal with Dan Hooker as it is at 155. The problem is he's gone through a lot of guys. He's got a couple in front of him. The road to a championship is a little bit tough. I mean, Dan Hooker went fisticuffs with Dustin Poirier to where it was a split decision. One licensed judge thought he beat Dustin Poirier. And a lot of you did too. A lot of the fans didn't agree with that decision. Now, I'm not here to rehash that, but there is no question of how good Dan Hooker is. He went 25 minutes with Dustin Poirier and had a judge say that he got the best of him. He is amazing. And now you're telling me he's going to go 145. What do you want to do with him? I mean, he's an immediate player, not to mention he's got a pretty good idea of where he stands in that weight class, considering his own teammate is the champion of the world. That's a very helpful advantage, and it's also a clue to the rest of us. If you're in the room with a guy who is the world champion and you get to spar with him every single day, you know right where you can fit into the mix. It's very helpful. Dan Hooker must like where he fits into the mist. He must like how he feels at 145. He's helped Volkanovski prepare for many opponents, which means Hooker studied the division. So who is one of those opponents going to be? Because I don't have one right now that I don't like. If you told me Dan Hooker was going to fight Ortega, I got no problem with it. I don't go, Ortega's too high ranked and he fought. No, I don't have a problem with that. I don't care if Dan's coming off a loss or not. I'll watch that fight right now, and I won't be too sure ahead of time who's going to win. Not to mention, what about a storyline? If Volkanovski, I don't want to fight Max, you got to go through my teammate first. I mean, that story's been done a few times. To get to a guy, you got to go through a guy. Started with a Gracie challenge. The Gracies used to have a thing where you could come into their gym, challenge them right off the street. I think I can beat you. No problem. I'll fight you right now for free. But you got to go through one of my students first. I got to know that you belong here. And they'd bring out one of the students, and it usually didn't get that far, but sometimes it did. Sometimes the dude that came off the street was a badass. He'd beat one of the students, and Gracie would have to go deal with it. It was one of these things. But it works for marketing, right? If you guys didn't know that story, I just had your interest, didn't I? You think, well, that's interesting. That happened to Hoist? That happened to Hickson? That happened to Horion? Right? You think that was interesting. That story is very real. What if? Just for fun, what if? What if Volkanovski demands you go through my guy? You're all of a sudden going to want to see Max. What if I tell you it's going to be the zombie way? There's no way to go wrong. I don't know how Hooker got to 145. I've always liked this guy, and I like him because he doesn't make any excuses about anything. He didn't make excuses in a pandemic. He got better in his garage and came out and won fights. He got stuck on Fight Island for 73 days away from his wife who's in New Zealand because of the rules of entry for that specific government. He didn't complain. He didn't say a goddamn thing. Now I find out that he gets done with Islam Makhachev, and instead of crying and sitting around being a little baby like everybody else would have the right to do, at least for a couple of days, he goes into a weight cutting camp just to see if he can do it. He makes 145 pounds. He gets a whole goddamn bunch of nothing for doing it. That's not fair. It's not fair, guys. We got to give Dan something. Dan made weight. Dan did the show. We have to give him something, so let's find him an opponent. I'm asking you guys, we got to start somewhere. Who do you want it to be?